Hey guys, this is Wolfie, and today we're going to talk about division rivals. We don't really talk about them. We're just going to watch some videos on these division rivals. There's just keep us a little bit updated on what's going on around their training camp right now, their cut candidates, whatever they have to talk about. I try to find the best content creators out there that's keeping up with like just the latest. And these are what I was able to find. Seahawks, Brendan Nelson. He has 17,000 followers. He keeps up pretty good with it. Arizona Sports Fan, 14,000 followers. We'll check him out. And then Rams Locked On. We're going to check Locked On Rams. We're checking them out. They have 50 plus followers. And let's see what they have to say about their team. Papa J, what up, buddy? What's up, bruh? Welcome to the stream, brother. Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. OG. So we'll just go. Well, before we check out those teams, though, after we check out those content creators, we're going to go ahead and take a look at. Well, not take a look. We're going to talk about Dominic Puni, and is he like the best offensive lineman in this class, in this rookie class? From what I hear from multiple like quarterback people who look at the not quarterback people, but people who reveal film or based on articles that I'm hearing across the league, there are 3 offensive linemen that have like just stood out in the news. So I'll go ahead and just talk about those at the end of it. But before we get into that, before we get into all of that, there's a little bit of Aiyuk news. It's not news. It's not really an update. It's more like you want to see the next dramatic thing that Aiyuk did. So I'll keep it short because it's not really news. It doesn't tell us anything. It's just the same old scrap move that Aiyuk posted today. Today he posted a Steelers, like being in a Steelers thing, and he liked the post. And this is pretty much what it is. The post was, it looks perfect, and this is the clip. And it's officially him. So that's that. That wasn't much of that's not much of an update. I'm going to try and stay as long as I can, but I'm driving through dead zone at the Avenue of the Giants. I'll do my best to not like shout like just out of nowhere, so you don't like what the fuck is that? I appreciate you, man. You don't, I'd rather you be safe. So if it's safer to not be on while you drive, I prefer that. But if you can listen, that's dope too. Thanks, man. I appreciate the support. So that's pretty much the update on Aiyuk. It's just more drama. It's just him just trying to push the issue on some level, but there is a numbness to it. I saw it and I was so numb. All right. The first thing I did was go check to see if like anybody on YouTube is like, oh my God, big IG post, because it's going to get a lot of views if you really get into it. If you're like breaking Aiyuk news when it's not, it's just him trying to force the issue like we already know. So let's not overreact with that. And if anybody like really tries to make it a big deal on anybody else's channel, I urge you not to do that because it's just the same shit that he's been doing in the past. It's just no different. So, and he's probably freaking out because we're getting close to the regular season, which is just getting a lot more serious. And that's not to say the 49ers aren't taking this seriously because obviously they want him there. But I'm just saying Aiyuk is the one that's making this kind of a move, and it's just like same shit. As for Trent, there is no updates on Trent. Same thing. Apparently, they're working hard on a contract right now for Trent, but there's nothing going on. I tried Googling it multiple times of the day, tried to find articles. They're all old, just pretty much saying the same thing. What Kyle Shanahan, I think, said 2 days ago. So that is the update on Brandon Aiyuk. So, and to everyone who likes the content, please hit that like button. I love doing this. I do this every day. I go live every single day. And if you guys like the content, please subscribe. I appreciate that too. So let's go ahead and check out some Seahawk content creators. And first we'll start off with some Seahawk content creators and see what they have to say about their team right now. Some guy named Brad Nelson Seahawks. He's a lot like me and like not David Lombardi or anything like that, but like content creators that don't go like Dave and Bruce or people who don't go there, but they still keep track of everything and collect it all together to tell us. He's pretty much that guy. So let's go ahead and see what he has to say. And yeah, I have not seen it. So he could tell me absolutely nothing, by the way.
Seahawks practice in the books. So we got some stuff to talk about. Once again, not as much stuff as we had seen in the early training camp sessions. I think those just tend to be dissected a little bit more by the beat report.
The Seahawks did trade Michael Carter, a cornerback, for linebacker. For a linebacker, who was it? Linebacker Michael Barrett. So they just did that. So Shimon has been traded.
Orders, and they make a bigger deal out
traded.
of the plays and some of these sequences on the field than they do once we actually get to the preseason, because, well, you can see it for yourself on TV every week. But there's still some stuff to go over here. It's mostly injury related stuff, but we're going to go ahead and comb through it here. So I've got a series of tweets from the various beat reporters who were there today. So let's go ahead and just dive right in. One thing I want to say before we get into this stuff is I did see some video and I heard some reports from various people that Geno Smith is there and he's practicing. So I don't want to give the wrong impression here, because I made that video about Geno Smith maybe wanting an extension earlier today. And I don't want to give the impression that he's holding out or holding in or doing anything to like indicate that he's genuinely unhappy with the situation with the Seahawks right now.
I don't know enough about the Seahawks situation to really kind of like for you to take my word for this, but if he's not there and it's known that he wants to do, I think you're onto something, buddy. I think you know what you're talking about. I think you should.
We're not seeing that. I can say at least that. In fact, I saw one tweet that said that he was one of the stars of the show today. So
he was there today. Okay.
It does seem like
he was there today. He was saying that he wasn't. Okay. I just need to pay attention, not be a dumbass. That's all I need to do.
He wants an extension, but it doesn't seem like he's willing to do anything drastic to get it. So understand that this is mostly just
he probably had somebody tell him, like, dude, you're not that good, brother. Like, you're just not that good, dude. So I understand you want a new contract, man, but we're not going to give you that payment, that kind of money, bro. You're like a top, 20-ish quarterback? Like, let's be real. Turn this down so I get my chat up. All right. I'm just saying.
Talk about during the week rather than an indication that we have a problem. There's been no indication we have a problem. So if you were thinking
Sam Howell's going to take that position
out, we're not seeing anything like that right now. So
Sam
just to get that out of the way. So let's take a look here. First note, Pharaoh Brown. Dugar has a little bit here from Pharaoh Brown's Instagram page where he is making his way back from the foot injury. You can see that he's up, he's standing. He is walking without crutches now, supposedly, and has been for a few days.
Pharaoh Brown.
So it looks like he is on track to be ready very early in the season. Maybe he won't be ready week 1, but he's trying to be. So
he's tight.
I think we can now officially conclude that the worst was avoided.
Tight end. Oh, I hit the wrong button.
We avoided the worst. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. Oops. Obviously, he's not on the field yet, but making progress, and we look good. You know, it looks fine. One interesting note, Jim Zorn was a visitor to Seahawks training camp today. He was a part of the proceedings. Kind of cool. Jim Zorn obviously spent some time on the Seahawks coaching staff, was a head coach in the NFL for a little bit, not particularly successful, but of course he was also
the name sounds vaguely familiar.
The first ever quarterback in franchise history. So kind of cool to see.
Just was
those random little notes you pick up on.
More you know. Reading. The more you know.
Wix
no
gives you the freedom to tell your story.
I don't want to get demonetized because of ads. There we go.
So not necessarily impactful of anything, not necessarily indicative of anything super compelling, but Jim Zorn was in town today, and every now and then you get alternative perspectives from people like that who are not part of your everyday discussions. Okay. So now let's jump on over to Connor Williams stuff here. I got this from
he clearly has more followers than me, so I really shouldn't be like criticizing his shit. I really should. But he's got it on lock. He's got all of his like tabs ready to go. He's got everything in order. Maybe I give props to this guy. A little monotone, but I'm also out here looking like I'm on crack because I'm just like, so that's just his style.
Craig Bell. He is basically ramped up or very close to being ramped up. He's doing extra work after practice. You can see him here actually pictured doing some extra work with Grubb and Huff. And this is obviously because he has catch up to do. But in terms of the normal.
Wait, Connor Williams signed with the Seahawks? No way. Is that who I think it is? Ah, bummer. I didn't know that. I thought he was available. Oh, well, it's not the end of the world.
Stuff that happens during practice.
Connor Williams is on the Seahawks.
Basically all the way where he needs to be. Condota had this tweet here. Sorry, the picture
would have been way better than Brendel, I'm sure.
But, getting in post-practice work, he appeared to do almost everything today. And I think it was Brady Henderson also say that it looks like Connor Williams is all the way there. Now, this was a light practice today. This was non-contact.
If Connor Williams is as good as like 49ers Report, Chat Sports Guy advertised, I believe Grant Cohn did, and a few other content creators were like, hey, we should really get this guy over Brendel. Be a little bummed at the Seahawks. I didn't know the Seahawks had him, man. That's a little bumming. It's a little bummy. That kind of sucks. Hopefully he's not good then. Hopefully he sucks.
This was a much more gentle practice, so it's much easier to do everything. But it seems like he's starting to move on up to the point where he will be ready for the regular season, even if we don't see him in this Browns game. So if you wanted a Connor Williams update, it sounds good.
Shit.
All right. So the rest of the notes that I got are basically coming from Condota, who did a really good job writing up everything that transpired on the field that he saw that he thought was particularly relevant. He covered basically all the ground that needed to be covered. So we're going to go through what he had to say overall about the day. Mike Morris was back. So he's back from the injury. So whatever he had was very minor. He missed a couple days. Zach Charbonnet also was back. So both those guys, they look okay. So should be ready for the regular season, no problem. If they need to play in that last preseason.
Wow, they're having some injury issues themselves.
A couple days out there. All three tight ends remain out. Obviously, Pharaoh Brown, I already talked about him. No Noah Fant, no Jack Westover. And for a guy like Westover missing this last preseason game.
What? They're having tight end issues? Noah Fant is hurt and all that? Okay. All right.
Would hurt because he has not really done anything so far in the preseason. And I haven't heard his name a lot in camp. And that's a guy who you figured would have had a leg up because of Ryan Grubb working with him the last couple of years. But
Ryan Grubb
got to be on the field and you got to be able to do stuff if you're going to draw that.
Bro, you want to grab some grub?
So far, I mean, I got very little to say about Westover because he's not really doing anything that's getting any kind of attention at all. Also still out, and boy, I'm getting tired of saying this, Draymond Jones. Draymond Jones still out. Again, he's a veteran. Missing practice is not the end of the world, but he has missed so much time this offseason that it makes you wonder, is he going to really be ready?
He's only 27.
He's going to be asked to do some interesting, different stuff in this defense, and him having limited opportunity to learn it is not ideal. So I really don't think that we should be feeling great about the Draymond Jones situation right now. I'm not.
Is he the starter? I think he's the starter, right? Supposedly he's supposed to be the starter. His first season, the Seattle, he started 16 and 17 games, 49 tackles, 4.5 sacks. Wow, he's actually pretty good for them. And if the head coach Mike McDonald can actually be pretty good, probably may be able to utilize him. But apparently he's not healthy and probably ain't going to come back. And apparently it's one of their frustrating things that's happening with them. Us, it's Aiyuk and Trent. Them, apparently it's Draymond Jones.
Not enthused about that. More from Condota. Fant was out with a veteran rest day, and Tomlinson was out with a veteran rest day. Which you're gonna.
That's Lincoln Tomlinson, huh? That traitor. Did that traitor go to fucking Seahawks? That traitor went to the Seahawks. Wow. I feel like I already knew that, but at the same time, wow. What a douche.
Honestly, we're going to have several players on this team probably only practice twice a week, maybe even once a week, like
Oh, shit.
Fant and Tomlinson, and probably Lockett, who's also mentioned here as somebody who did
Oh,
not
I was about to
practice.
die. Right back. Oh.
Now, Lockett's kind of interesting because he hasn't practiced in several days now, so I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what's up there. I still don't think it's a problem because he is still doing some like catching work with Jake Peets, still doing some stuff with like the jugs machine. But those are guys, those three guys.
They're having some injury issues over there in Seattle. Jesus, they're missing 3 tight ends. And then they got Lockett that did not participate in practice. All right.
In particular, maybe Jaron Reed joins them. You might not see them practice very much this year, and they're just going to get ready for game day, which that's what happens when you get older, right? You get days off, you get rest days, and all those guys are old enough and beat up enough to where they probably need to look at they probably need that time. So yeah, nothing really super compelling to report there, but it is worth noting that, you know, this is what happens when you get older.
Oh, no, I was pretty
I
compelled
am
to
a
find out that
little bit
Latham
suspicious
Tomlinson's
about
a
Lockett
traitor.
because they're not calling it veteran rest days. They're actually calling it did not practice, but they're not saying anything about an injury. I'd kind of like to know what's going on there. If there is an injury, I mean, I'd like to know about it, I guess. But yeah, there's that. The
Damage
only
control.
real note in terms of like something that happened on the field in a football sense that I saw from anybody today was actually right here from Condota. Witherspoon had a pick in team drills.
Devon
There was that,
Witherspoon, not
and then there was one note that I saw that said basically Geno
that
Smith
one
had a
dude that was
really
on
good
fire.
practice. Other than that, it was all just like this kind of stuff, injury stuff, roster stuff. So with Fant out and Tomlinson out, we had Stone Forsythe working at right tackle, which at this point has become relatively expected. But Christian Haynes was playing left guard, which there continues to be a lot of smoke around the idea that they may go with that when the season starts. Haynes may end up, well, I don't want to say when the season starts. I think they will start with Tomlinson, but don't be surprised if Christian Haynes works his way into that starting lineup at the left guard spot sooner rather than later. So that's really exciting to me because I like Haynes a lot and I want him on the field ASAP.
So great. You got 2 awesome starting left guards. Yes, I'm jealous because our offensive line is trash.
But Bradford has looked so good in
We got
camp in the
Puni.
preseason.
So there's that.
I don't think you can take him out. So this is the way you make that happen. And I think it would be a really, really good thing.
Don't let anything stand between you and performing at your best. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Performance unbound.
Is the internet signal any better now?
Why did we get internet from the cell phone company?
Ads are getting demonetized.
So lots of moving around on the offensive line, but it's moving around in ways that I think are smart. And Jerome Baker also out, by the way. He's one guy that I didn't mention previously, but he remains out. We did hear from McDonald that he would be back very soon. So if we don't see him back soon, we're going to have to start to worry a little bit about that. More from Condota, and this was kind of the last significant injury note from him. This was new from today. Rayshawn Jenkins left early in practice and did not return.
49ers were going to sign that guy, but Rayshawn Jenkins was like, guess what? Guess what? I'm going to go to Seattle. Taxes.
We don't know what's going on. We don't know how serious it is. We know he didn't come back, so it's that serious because McDonald does not speak to the media after the middle practice, I guess. He's going to speak to the media tomorrow afternoon. We might learn more about Jenkins then. It is worth noting, though, that he didn't come back. So there might be something going on there. Kevon Wallace, the good news is Kevon Wallace has had a really good camp. So if he has to step up for a little while, then we'll be fine. He was working with the ones for the rest of the day. So, I mean, that's cool, right? We have quality depth there right now. Even a guy like a Kobe Bryant is having a pretty decent overall camp, and he had one good preseason game at safety. So if we got to go that way, then we can probably go that way. And one final note, although there was, again, not a lot of information given, no Trey Brown. No Trey Brown out there today. McDonald had nothing to say.
Jesus, dude, you got injury issues just like us, man.
Could be an injury. We don't really know what's going on there.
This entire video has been
anything was up with Trey Brown. I think
this guy's not here.
I think yesterday, I think he was out there. If not, he was there 2 days ago. So maybe something happened, but it's always frustrating on this day where you don't get the comments from the coach. So you kind of have to speculate. And that's really all I got. That's the news roundup from.
All right, man. You told me, hey, I learned some today. I didn't know Lincoln Thomas was on the team. I didn't know Ray Sean Jenkins was hurt, and apparently it's a pretty serious injury. That's a pretty big deal. And you guys are dealing with tight end injury issues. That's pretty bad. And then you got the vet day, blah blah blah. So I learned something today. Okay, was this new experiment of checking out on division rivals? It's not a complete loss. So, and just in case you guys miss it, to anybody who comes in here, cornerback Michael Jackson has been traded for Michael Barrett, who is a linebacker from Carolina. So there's that. And it's not anything, they're not like great players or anything like that. I think it's just like a low key, under the radar kind of type trade. So next up, we got Arizona Cardinals. Okay, there's an Arizona Cardinals fan out there that says, who makes the final 53-man roster post week 2 of preseason? Stock up and down. Let's see if they start talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. Let's see.
Stock up, stock down. Who's going to make the 53-man roster for the Arizona Cardinals? Let's get started.
Tell me, bruh. You've been trash on your team. I'm looking forward to hearing
Hi,
about it.
everybody. Welcome back into another video. Definitely do me a huge favor. Smack that like button and subscribe for more Arizona Cardinals content on this channel. We cover everything Arizona Cardinals news, breaking news, conversational pieces, everything surrounding your favorite team. So subscribe.
But I do wish you the best, man. You work hard on your content. Obviously, you got a shit ton of followers. I'm rooting for you. You know, you represent your team. That's dope. That's right.
Drive it up. It's absolutely for free. Huge shout out here to BetUS, the sponsor of the Arizona sports fan throughout the entirety of the NFL season.
That's your boy in like a year. Powered by BetUS. This is the 49ers. Maybe something else, but we'll see.
If you're looking for a brand new sports book, BetUS is the way to go. Currently, right now, they do have a 125% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits, and they got the fastest payouts in the entire industry. Check out Cardinals. Now, this is post week 2 of preseason. Of course, there's some players that have their stock up, stock down, and we're going to go ahead and dive right into what I feel like is best for the
Dive right into it. It's been a minute and 18 seconds.
2024 Arizona Cardinals. Let's get started here. Now, I want the Arizona Cardinals to only carry 2 quarterbacks. I want the Cardinals to carry, obviously, Kyler Murray being QB1 and Clayton Tune. Now, do I think they're going to carry 3? Probably. But I feel like I've seen enough of Desmond Ridder where I do not want him to use up a spot for a potential guy that we can use, or a guy that gets.
Y'all remember Desmond Ridder? You know, he was in the Brock Purdy draft. I'm not saying I believed in him, but I thought he was actually going to be a backup. Like, you know, he was on Cincinnati, and Cincinnati was a good team. So I was actually had high hopes for that, to be honest with you. But, you know, if he doesn't make the Arizona Cardinals team, I can't imagine. I guess another team would probably pick him up, or maybe go to practice squad. I don't know. It's a bad look. I understand Kyler Murray is our franchise quarterback, but that dude gets hurt a lot. So it's kind of weird that you'd only want to keep 2 quarterbacks in the team. I understand you get the emergency quarterback situation. I guess you could, because no one would pick up Desmond Ridder. He knows the playbook. So I guess you could. Now that I think about it, I should just shut the fuck up, apparently, because he knows what he's talking
picked
about.
Up on another roster and flourishes over there, right? I feel the Cardinals will be in a better position if they just carry 2. So I got Kyler Murray and Clayton Tune being.
Hey, bro,
one.
Stop that. Whatever you're doing with your vids, with the little like staticky thingy, what Bob that's happening there, that is going to give me a stroke.
And QB2. Let's move on over to the running backs. James Conner is the obviously running back 1 for the Cardinals. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky, right? A little interesting. Now, this is kind of how I feel like it's going to shake out. I feel like Amari DeMarcado will probably have that number 2 role.
You see what he did there? He was like, they're probably going to shake out. And then if you see the player, he's kind of like shaking out. So did you see what he did there?
For the Cardinals. Now, as the year goes on, I do feel like the Arizona Cardinals will probably
I'm not mocking him.
Trim down Amari DeMarcado's role and maybe transition into Trey Benson as being the RB number 2. But right now, as long as James Conner can stay healthy, he's obviously RB1 for the Cardinals. So this is how I have it shaking out. We got James Conner, Amari DeMarcado, Trey Benson, and then Michael Carter. And I'm adding DJ Dallas. Now, DJ Dallas is added on here because of the sole purpose of him being able to kick return as well as punt return. I feel like that's one of the sole reasons why we ended up
5
bringing
running
in
backs?
DJ Dallas, and I feel like it would just work out, right? Now, I get it. 5 running backs don't sound ideal, but we do have the potential of using some of these
Tell me about it. Seriously, brother. Tell me about it.
guys in special teams as well. So I feel like this is going to be the best way for the Arizona Cardinals to kind of come into the 2024 season with all these weapons that we have. And on top of that, James Conner's durability, we have not seen a healthy James Conner. So I would love to get as much backup as we possibly can and not lose any of these guys in the waiver wire and
Conner.
some other team picks him up, right? So to recap, James Conner, Amari DeMarcado, Michael Carter, Trey Benson, and then DJ Dallas. So 5 running backs on the depth chart. And then we're going to move on over to the wide receivers.
I'm a little shocked by that, actually. I understand the 49ers doing it because we Kyle Shanahan loves his running backs. We all know that, and his wide receivers and stuff. But for the Cardinals, though, aren't they just more of a, I guess they got a new coordinator and things, I guess, but it would just be weird if they actually started running the ball significantly more. That would be kind of weird.
We got Marvin Harrison Jr., a no-brainer, Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch being the 1, 2, 3, and then Zay Jones, Tajon Palmer, Chris Moore, and Xavier Weaver. We've heard Jonathan Gannon come out here and actually
recognize
about
2 of those
Xavier
names.
Weaver, about his explosiveness and how he can actually become a really good wide receiver. I think he's going to make the 53-man roster, or at least I hope he does. I know he can be a potential good wide receiver in the NFL. He just needs the opportunity, and I would hate some other team to go out there and poach him off our practice squad if he actually makes it through the roster. But he's a really good wide receiver and just
Kyle
needs a
Shanahan's
little bit of
plotting
fine-tuning and an opportunity. So that's how I have our wide receivers shaking out. Let me recap that again. Marvin, Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, Zay Jones, Tajon Palmer, Chris Moore, and Xavier Weaver. Now let's go over to the tight ends. I got the Cardinals carrying 3 tight ends. Trey McBride, Tip Ryman being that primary guy that helps out on the offensive line, obviously as a tight end though. And then we got Elijah Higgins as well. Now let's move on over to the offensive linemen. This is where it gets a little interesting, right? We've seen the Arizona Cardinals offensive line not really hold up very much.
Did he just skip the offensive line? Did I miss that part?
This is where it gets a little interesting, right? We've seen the Arizona Cardinals offensive line not really hold up very much. Fine, obviously as a tight end though, and then we got Elijah Higgins as well. Now let's move on over to the offensive linemen. This is where it gets a little interesting, right? We've seen the Arizona Cardinals offensive line not really hold up very much. We got to take with what we have. So you might see a name in here and say, oh, I would have cut him. The Cardinals are not in a situation where we can cut people, right? We're not in that situation. So this is who I feel like the Cardinals are going to bring over, right? So it's going to be Paris Johnson Jr., Evan Brown, Fro Holt, Will Hernandez, and then Jonah Williams being the top 5 offensive linemen. And then
that's right. They got Jonah Williams,
Kelvin Beachum, Isaiah Adams,
that's right,
Christian Jones, and then Elijah Wilkinson. Now, the names that I mentioned towards the end, Isaiah Adams and Christian Jones, they've struggled a lot in preseason. I'm not going to lie to you, but we do need as much depth as we possibly can. And maybe they can develop to become a really good offensive lineman, right? Maybe they just need to put a little bit more muscle. Maybe they just need to kind of redefine their technique, but they are seen to be really good players coming out of the draft. As of right now, they're not going to be starters, which I'm glad for, but that's kind of how I feel like the O-line position is going to shake out. Now let's move on over to the defensive side of the
The Seahawks are having offensive line issues, sort of. The Cardinals are having offensive line issues. It seems like they would take anybody based on this guy's response. I wonder if the Rams are having offensive line issues. Because if that's the case, I could see why the draft strategy was, if everyone's got like a weak offensive line or equal to in the same division as the 49ers,
the ball. Let's first start off here with the outside linebackers. Of course, we got Zaven Collins and then Dennis Garlick being that number 1 and number 2. We got Xavier Thomas, a rookie, as well as Cameron Thomas. Now, this is kind of be where carrying 4 running backs might affect the outside linebacking core. And I can definitely very well see somebody say, well, cut one of those guys to potentially bring in Victor Dimukeje, right? But I don't know. I just have not seen a lot of guys really work out in preseason, but I feel like these guys are the ones that have the most potential. And looking at this list, the Cardinals need help. I don't know why the Cardinals aren't addressing it. But
definitely.
we
They need
need
help.
help, right, at the end of the day. But this is going to be the 4 outside linebackers we're going to be carrying. Of course, BJ Ojulari is landing himself in the IR, so we're not going to be adding him to the 53. But those are the 4 outside linebackers: Zaven, Gardeck, Xavier Thomas, and Cameron Thomas. Now, Cameron Thomas might have been an easy cut for me, but he actually showed out really, really well in week 2 of preseason, so I put him back on the list. Let's go with the inside linebackers. We got Kazir White, Mac Wilson Sr., Owen Papu, OP, and then Kryes Barnes. This is another position where you could potentially add somebody else with more depth, but I don't know. I'm going to keep it at 4 and kind of see how it goes. As long as they can stay healthy, Kazir White and Mac Wilson Sr. are going to be the primary guys to get the job done right on the inside. Let's go into defensive line. We got Darius Robinson, Justin Jones, Dante Stills, Bilal Nichols, Tonga.
Low key, and I mean this. All right, I understand when I played Madden, I was a lot more familiar with names, right? This dude's naming off players I've never heard, not even in the draft, dude. What the fuck? Where are you getting these players from? UFL Canada?
And then Roy Lopez. We've had a lot of raves about Roy Lopez in preseason. I believe we only saw him in week 1. I'm not 100% sure that he was available in week 2, but there's definitely a lot of high praises from this coaching staff. So this is how I feel like it's going to shake out with the defensive line.
Tell me.
I'm a little bit more confident with the defensive line, especially with the additions of Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols. Stopping the interior run is going to be very, very crucial. And as long as they can stay healthy, I feel like they're going to be a really good focal point for that defensive line. Let's move on over to the cornerbacks. Sean Murphy-Bunting, Max Melton, Garrett Williams. That's 1, 2, 3. And then Elijah Jones, Keetrell Clark, and then Starling Thomas V. There is another rookie that we ended up getting in the later part of this draft, Davis. I don't think he's going to make the roster. I don't think we've really seen very much of him in training camp and or in preseason. So I feel like this is going to be the way that it shakes out. I'm confident in our cornerbacks. Of course, I would be a lot more confident if we had more of a pass rush, but these are the cornerbacks I feel like we're going to be rolling with. Sean Murphy-Bunting, Max.
Their corners aren't very good, and their D-line isn't very good. Kyle Shanahan's just like, yes.
Melton, Garrett Williams, Elijah Jones, Keetrell Clark, and then Starling Thomas V. Let's move on over to the safeties. Buda Baker, Jalen Thompson, Joey Blunt. Joey Blunt's got the ability to play special teams, so I want to bring him in. And then
Joey Blunt.
I don't think anybody out there will not have him on the list. This guy's been doing very, very special things. It just looks like a really overall good guy, a good locker room guy, great personality, and he's a baller. We've seen him really show out here in week 2 and week 1 of preseason, so definitely makes the cut in the safety list. Of course,
keep an eye on Joey Blunt, y'all. I think it was Joey Blunt. Keep an eye on that dude. We might poach him if they waive him. Sorry, us 49ers might poach him if he waives him.
We got special teams, Matt Prater, Blake Gillikin, and then Aaron Brewer. Now, of course, there's Joe Shimko, but I think if we're probably going to go with the veteran for a long snapper, and it's probably going to be Aaron Brewer, unless otherwise said, right? So let me know what your guys' list is. This is how I feel like it's going to shake out. Of course, there are some people out there that did very, very well in preseason, and that's what preseason is, right? To make sure your stock goes up so you can squeak into the 53. Now, just because the 53 is set doesn't mean there's not going to be changes, right? Especially towards the end part of the list, right? With your Tonga, your Keetrell Clark, right? Any of those guys here in the bottom part of the list, a lot of things can be changed. Do I see the Cardinals potentially going after somebody in waivers? Yeah, absolutely. We're not
the
only people that
definitely. Okay, so we all need to keep. So apparently the Cardinals need corners. They need D-line. So if we cut corners of ours, we waive them. I could see them picking up our players for sure because the Seahawks do that shit a lot, and I think the Cardinals did that a lot last year. So if they need a corner, they'll probably pick up, I'm sure, because we got a lot of them. We got Luter, he's good. If we cut Rock is Sin, they'll probably take him. Amory Thomas is on IR because he broke his hand. I guess I could just see them taking Rock Sin because there's no way we're going to cut Yadam. So, all right. Okay, so that was the Cardinals. We got an update on them. I'm not going to lie to you. I wasn't really – the Seahawks guy kind of reassured me like, yeah, they had injuries, but there's like a little more confident in this team. However, this guy is telling me like, yo, yeah, there's some holes here, dog. So there's some holes here. There doesn't seem like they're dealing with any kind of injury issues. Their offensive line's bad. Their D line's not doing so hot, and their corners are not doing so hot, even though they drafted Max Melton. So, hey, well, that's good to know. That's 2 wins. That's 2 wins right there. So, all right, guys. This one, these guys, this one was, how do I put this? I watched, obviously, some of it, 4 minutes, 41 seconds of it, but you could tell they're a little smug. And you know what I mean when you watch them. But I'm putting the time at 4:41 because they talk about Tom Brady and how Tom Brady praised the Rams and things like that, saying they're probably one of the teams that could beat the Chiefs. And quite literally, they say things that would insult. They're pretty much insulting Kyle Shanahan. They're saying, "Oh, he's not a choker. You know, he knows how to actually get the game done." Doesn't say his name, but they say that, "Oh, he's the guy who can do it." And it's like, fuck you. You know exactly what you're saying. We know what you're saying. That stupid ass narrative.
Extremely cautious. Now, he didn't take part in 11 on 11s, but you look at some of the clips from practice, he did look. Matthew Stafford was reportedly wearing a glove on his left hand due to a little cut or wound that he suffered.
Dude's always getting hurt, man.
Extremely cautious. Now, he didn't take part in 11 on 11s, but you look at some of the clips from practice, he did look like he was moving well, that the hamstring isn't a big issue.
Yeah, look, he's out there. He's
and
moving.
a hamstring.
Maybe it wasn't 11 on 11s like you mentioned, and you'd like to see that happen before you get to Detroit. But again, there's time. There's a whole week. They're going to Houston. They're taking on the Texans, a joint practice. Maybe he gets out there. Maybe he doesn't. And then you got the better part of 10 days or so.
Oh, that's concerning.
Before you're actually out there.
That's
getting ready to play a real game. I'm optimistic that he's going to be okay. Had he just been standing on the sidelines doing nothing, I think that's where you start to have your eyebrows go up a little bit and start to worry about how effective he may be. But
this is obviously just one video, but is there an underlying concern that Matthew Stafford might, like, obviously he's playing, I think, right now, if he's out there kind of doing some stuff, but he's got a hamstring injury, left arm injury. Keep in mind, though, Matthew Stafford has dealt with a lot of injuries and still played through them no matter what. So,
yeah, I'm in a pretty good spot mentally as far as where I think he's going to be. Like you said, if he's not right, none of this really matters. After that, it would be an incredibly steep uphill climb.
Season's
without
over.
him. But looks like at least at the start of the season, you're going to have your most important guy.
Absolutely. And when it comes to hamstring tightness, if there was anything there, there's no way he's going to be out there doing individual work, and that's what he was doing. So it feels like we're going to forget that we even had this injury to begin with. So definitely that's positive. Also, one that's definitely another positive, Jonah Jackson returning to practice. He's been dealing with that bruised scapula. He's been sidelined pretty much the most
that
training camp so far.
Hurt. He was always
back. He was doing individual work as well. So they're ramping both of these guys up. They're not going to be participating in the joint practice session with the Texans later this week. But just the fact that these two key starters are back there putting some work in definitely is a major positive.
Yeah, I think of all the guys on the offensive line that we've been talking about missing time, and you're talking about Aiyuk Jackson, you're talking about Jonah Jackson, you're talking about Rob Havenstein, that Jonah Jackson was the one that I think Rams fans and you and me, we all felt like, okay, maybe that's the one that might linger into the regular season. Maybe that's the one that isn't quite ready to go opening night in Detroit, and that he was out there and participating. And like you said, maybe it wasn't full participation, but that there was even partial participation, I think is a really good sign. This, again, we've said this a million times. The everydayers know this. This was their big free agent acquisition. This was the guy that they went out and targeted and spent money on. And
they're having offensive line issues as well, but their problems are injuries, not necessarily they just don't have the pieces. You know what I mean? So I guess they're kind of in a better boat than we are. And based from what I'm hearing they have a little bit of concern. They're going to start week 1. However, they didn't say anything about like long-term injuries or anything of that nature. So they're having some injury bug issues with their offensive line. So I guess everyone in the NFC West has offensive line issues. So, oh no, dude, I don't want to go that far back. No, actually hit that button. Where am I ready to go?
To begin with. So definitely that's positive. And also one that's definitely another positive is going to be massive. And I think for this team as a whole, one of the other big storylines is Steve Avila. Is Steve Avila going to be?
All right, so I accidentally jumped back, so and I know where we're at, but we're gonna move on from the offensive line. So whatever this guy's talking about now, we'll go. We get the gist of what they mean. Like there's a big free agents acquisition, and he's hurt.
A Pro Bowl
And their offensive
center
line is
in year one. Well, we'll start with his potential backup, and we're going to kind of keep it a little quick transition. We'll get one of these horns down in here, and Mike McAllister. So Mike McAllister, he went in there, he filled in for Bo Limmer.
Home Alone sequel
as the game progressed, and he gave a lot of ground. I mean, the blocking game, he wasn't really good as far as his run blocking, led to some tackles for a loss, just wasn't really getting very much at all of a push. So I think Bo Limmer has passed Mike McAllister as the backup center, and he's really making a big push to make this team.
Yeah, hopefully we don't have to worry about anybody being the backup center. Hopefully that Steve Avila is the guy that just holds that down. You know, kind of going back to him from his rookie season, I think as good as he was, and he was, as effective as he was, and he was, the thing that just jumps off the page at you for me, he played every snap of the season. Yeah. Like that's not a euphemism and exact. He played in every snap. I talked to him shortly after the season had ended. He took great pride in that, and rightfully so.
Does anybody want to go out there and just fact check him, make sure he did actually play every single snap? If you want a small W, go do it.
He is a durable guy. Obviously, it's football, and you're in the trenches, and anything can happen. But knowing that he has that kind of durability, knowing that he's got that kind of strength and tenacity, I think bodes really well for what they're trying to do. You're right. If all of a sudden he's unavailable for whatever reason, it does change things. You know, that like we talked about a second ago with Jonah Jackson, that all of these pieces kind of fit together to allow these guys to slide to different positions. If all of a sudden you have a weakness or an injury at one of these spots, it could be a big deal. And look, depth is always an issue. Depth is always something that you're going to get tested on at some point in the season or not. But hopefully it's not with the center, because he was your rock last year, and I think they're looking at him to be the rock again this year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another reason why you want to keep these premier guards healthy, because you don't want to have to see him go back there to the guard position when the focus needs to be on playing that center spot, which they feel is his best position in year two, and play it at a high level. And I think it's just one of the sports storylines during preseason is Bo Limmer. He's got the upside. He's more athletic. He just performed better than Mike McAllister, and I think that he's got that backup center spot locked up. He can never have enough depth at that offensive line. So, yeah, coming up next, more horns up, more horns down, and a cornerback that we've been waiting to pop that just hasn't been able to do it. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
Hey, everybody, Tim here. We'd love to give you an opportunity if you can give a little bit to the campaign. No, we'll use it wisely.
All right, now we're back to Locked On Rams. Was that the end of it?
You know, it's great.
We're back to it. Okay. So they have depth issues at their offensive line. So keep in mind, when we play them and they have an injury in their offensive line, we now know that they have concerns there, and we can be a little bit confident. I'm not saying I want someone to get hurt. I'm just saying we're now informed in this situation with the Rams, that because from what I've heard constantly, the Rams are our biggest competition right now in the NFC West. So knowing these things are actually kind of important. And if their offensive line is problems and ours is problems, I don't feel alone, if that makes any sense. Like I had a slight concern with offensive line with the 49ers. It kind of softens the blow knowing that they're also having problems with that. But our offensive line is, in my opinion, probably still worse than theirs. But we do know that at least our D line is going to go up against trash offensive line in all of the division. So there's that.
When they take two things that are awesome and put them together. So you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, right? America's #1 sports book. Well, now we've got something a little bit different for you in FanDuel, and it's a game changer, your action. And just telling you right now, Todd,
the Locked On Podcast Network.
I don't need your ad, bro.
Every day. Also, a special shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single
episode
of Locked On Rams. Can't tell you how much we appreciate you, and you should join the Everyday Listeners Club too. Membership is 100% free, and you won't miss a thing.
I thought he was about to say it's $100. Probably not daily, but I might come back. Like if this is a good thing, and I actually like doing this and doing it lives like once a week, maybe I'll come back. Like I'll be like a once a weeker, just so you can keep me updated on what's going on with, the Sheeps. So.
Los Angeles Rams. All right, Travis, here in our second segment, some more horns up, horns down, and a horns down for Trey Tomlinson. Trey Tomlinson, we've been waiting for him to take that next step to
the fuck is
impress the coaches, to make his case to be on this 53-man roster. And on Saturday, he earns a 45.5 PFF grade. Another bad penalty. He was called for illegal contact on that 3rd and 19 that gave the Chargers a first down. It was an incomplete pass. And even on that pass, he got beat deep by Quentin Johnson, and Easton Stick was able to kind of help him out in that situation. It was a little overthrow by him, but he just hasn't looked the part. I mean, just not disciplining up, not making up plays. And I think he's on the outside looking in for this 53-man roster.
Well, I think the most important thing that you pointed out is that this is the second week in a row that something has happened that could potentially really hurt your football team. And these are big penalties. These are penalties that result in first downs.
I don't know, man.
These
I
are
think he's
penalties
promising.
that
I
result
think
in
he's
the other
shooting the
team
shot.
getting to stay on the field, getting to continue drives. That look, you're going to get beat occasionally. Everybody does. That's part of the way that sports works. You don't win every single time. That's just not what it is. But what you can't do is double lose. And that's what's kind of happening with him, is whether it's a late hit out of bounds, whether it's the
Strawberry Reacts. What up, brother? What up? I believe one of their corners towards the ACL at the start of training camp. Hendricks. The Rams. Let me double check. They didn't bring that up, but they did. They apparently Trey Robinson's trash though. So a month ago, they fear he tore his ACL. Yeah, he tore it on July 20. It was confirmed on July 25th that he tore his ACL. Well, I mean, if we don't have Aiyuk on the bright side, we got, there's a little more assurance that we could probably beat their corners. No, you got it. It's Kendricks. He tore his ACL. Darian Kendricks, yeah, he tore his ACL.
The
he was good last year too.
Penalties that you're talking about.
That's kind of sad.
And this kind of fills in some of the gaps that you and I have been talking about for the last season or so when it comes to Trey Tomlinson. This, why isn't he on the field? Well,
Trey Tomlinson.
If I can't trust you not to take bad penalties, I can't put you out there. And I think you've gotten to see it a couple of times. This goes back to last preseason. We saw some bad penalties from him there as well. Coaches like predictability. They like reliability. They like knowing that if I put you out there, this is what you're going to give me. Yep. Even if it's not perfect, I need you to give me the same thing every single time. And Trey Tomlinson just really hasn't been able to do that. Like you mentioned, you and I think we're both pretty high on him last year coming into the season. It never really happened for him. It hasn't really happened for him so far in this training camp. And I tend to agree with you, Doug. I wonder if he's actually a part of what they're going to do when we get to Sunday night in Detroit.
Yeah, they don't have a ton of cornerback depth, but they also have Blake and Russ East, who can play cornerback in a pinch.
Yeah,
it's funny. They don't have to. You just told me they're not depth. They're not that corner. Dude, Purdy's gonna have some hunting season, bro. That's some hunting season shit. Oh, it says here that Jimmy Garoppolo was suspended. Did he substance abuse or something? It says suspended here. That's weird. Cornerback Darius Williams. He's questionable. What else do they got? They have Tre'Varius White. That's right. So if he's good, if he can get back to normal, that's a pretty big deal because he was a really good corner. But then again, I mean, Darius Williams, questionable, supposed to be their starter. Kobe Durant, Sean Jolly, Cameron. I've never heard any of these people. Dude, they just got a bunch of randos. Holy shit.
You got Darius Williams and Tre'Davious White, two big offseason acquisitions. Kobe Durant has had a really nice training camp. Jerry Jacobs, he's going to be on this team as well. So it's not like he didn't have his opportunity for Trey Tomlinson, but he just hasn't made the most of it. And then a player that we were really high on after the Rams' first preseason game, Tyler Davis, he didn't have his best showing. He had a 41.6 PFF grade, but I think one of the issues was he wasn't playing nose tackle like we've seen him play. He was mainly at defensive end. I mean, for a guy that's over 300 pounds, not necessarily, I think, the best spot to optimize him. And he was kind of struggling to get off the blocks there, and he wasn't making very many plays in the run game. So
41?
not the best to follow up a great performance in his first preseason game from Tyler Davis.
Well, I think there's a couple of different ways to look at this. There's the way that you just described, which is they had him a little bit out of position, and maybe that's not where he's going to be best served for body type or whatever it may be. That's just not the position that the league may have in store for him. Okay, and he didn't look particularly good doing it. That's one way. Or the other way is they're trying to find a way to keep him, to see what other things that he can do, to see what else he brings. And we saw him against who was it at opening week? Cowboys. And he looked pretty good. Maybe not quite as good as Chargers, but you get to see him in a different role and trying to figure out if you can use him here.
I always hit share this tab. I don't know why.
Different places and try guys out of spots that maybe might be more traditionally suited for. I'm curious to see what it looks like against the Texans. I'm curious to see
he's for what, to get worse
inside, and whether or not he can have an impact against Houston the way that he did against Dallas. Outside
does not
look like the spot for him, but that they were willing to try some things, I think is actually a good sign for him, that they're trying to see if he might have some versatility in there.
Absolutely, for sure. That's definitely a spot where he can provide some value. And then Oshwa Mathis, he definitely needed to have himself a good afternoon to keep some momentum going for him, to see if he can find a way to make this 53-man. He had an 87.7 PFF grade, played well against the Chargers. Nick Hampton, a 50.4 PFF grade. He's going to make this team, in my opinion. He had 2 pressures and 10 pass rushing snaps. It wasn't the best, but I mean, if you look at the battle there, I mean, Byron Young, Jared Verse, Michael Hoyt, those are the locks. And then you got Brennan Jackson and Nick Hampton. I think Oshwa Mathis and Zach Van Valkenburg, that Hampton's going to beat those 2 guys out.
Van Valkenburg's looked good in the 2 preseason games, but yeah, I think you're right. I think it's just a matter of numbers there, and maybe there's some practice squad availability for some of these guys. But
just so you guys know, he's talking about the defensive line, and apparently the defensive line is looking solid, and it's pretty deep according to them. Their Nick Hampton guy has him as a wide linebacker, wide linebacker. Such a casual. Who else did they say was good? God, I feel like a nub. Jared Verse look good. They say Byron Young, but apparently they're really praising Nick Hampton there, so that's concerning. Our offensive line
is just one of those things that is so true about just sports in general, and especially when you get to the highest level of these things, like you're talking about in the NFL. There are more good players than there are places to put them, right? Just because you don't make a team doesn't mean that you're not a good player. Doesn't mean that there isn't a future for you in the league. Some teams have a surplus of certain positions and a deficit at others, and you just got to find, get in where you fit in sort of situation. And right now, those guys.
That's not the case if your team is absolute trash. Like if your team is like the Cardinals, you'll take any good player possible because you have somebody at your position that's not good at all. So for the most part, he's right. And I am just kind of like just picking at it a little bit here, but just to be right,
the odd man out in the numbers game.
Absolutely. When you look at practice squad players, by the way, less than 2 seasons, $12K a week. So could be $216,000 a veteran player. You're looking at $20K per week. Do you think they're properly compensated?
I'll take it. I'll go play a little practice squad. Do they need a practice squad like a field goal kicker holder guy? I could do that. I could catch it and put it down. I could do that.
Absolutely. I mean, anything. I mean, anything to help this.
That's kind of mean, just a little bit. I would take it. The common man would take it. The common man who's living in an apartment would take it. But it's not like you're getting. I guess you are getting paid a good to a sense. But at the same time, there's only certain there's also the off season, and that's like a whole 6 months where you don't get paid or some shit. So yeah, you do get paid on a practice squad, but at the same time, there is a time period in the year where it's not good. So
team, right? I mean, that's what really all about, for sure.
I'm here to serve.
I'm down to get my brains beat in to make 12K, we could be a part of the Rams. Or keep me just, I'll do it for free. I mean,
Football is,
I'll do volunteer work.
so brutal. I'm not going to be able to do that. Not a chance. Not a chance.
For sure. But coming up next, some more horns up, horns down, and a player who wasn't in uniform in the Rams.
Oh, I don't care. Oh, I knew it was going to be. They have this ad shit on point. They know exactly when that YouTube ad kicks in.
Not in uniform, but not injured as well. So this is someone who could potentially be making a run to be the starting safety over John Johnson III. So really impressed by him.
Well, when you
over John Johnson III, do they have like dope ass safeties over there? Cameron Curl, Jason Taylor, Cameron Kinchins. Kinchins was a rookie, right? He looks pretty solid. Is that what they're talking about right now? Kinchins. I remember him in the draft. I was kind of excited about him.
One of those guys that's kind of graduated to that is Cameron Kitchens. Cameron Kitchens
fucking knew
played
it.
the Rams' first game against the Dallas
stud.
Cowboys,
I liked it.
but after that, he's getting that veteran treatment, that I'm going to make the team treatment. He's with guys like Jared Verse and Braden Fisk and Blake Corum, not in uniform, but not injured as well. So this is someone who could potentially be making a run to be the starting safety over John Johnson III. So really impressed by him.
Wow.
Well, when you saw him against the Cowboys in that opening game, it was obvious that he was, for lack of a better phrase, just a little bit different than a lot of the other players out there. That just looked like it was of NFL.
They got a Mustafa over there, guys.
And
49ers fans, look out. They got a Mustafa over there. Okay. Apparently this Kitchens guy is pretty Kinchens, Kinchens. Apparently he's a little Mustafa-ish over there. So I wonder who's going to be the better safety. That's actually going to be interesting. If he takes the job of John Johnson III, that'd be actually a pretty big deal, because I actually don't think he's like a trash safety, but like to just take his job would be a pretty big deal in my opinion, especially since you're a rookie and he's balling out there. I think when we play the Rams, I got to keep an eye on them. So their corners suck, their DNs suck, and their offensive line sucks. So that's about it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end this guy. I'm sorry. They went the whole Larry Krueger level of long-ass video. We watched all of it. So let's go ahead and just end that shit. Let's go ahead and exit out of that. All right, so that's pretty much checking in on all of our division rivals. Personally, I didn't mind doing that. I actually learned a few things about these teams that I didn't know about before, and I did have concerns of like, how good was their offensive line? Would our offensive line be able to handle their D-line considering what we're going through? And it does seem that the Cardinals are having a D-line issue, so we'll be fine against them. Seahawks are having a little bit of a D-line issue, so I think we'll be actually fine against them. But the Rams, however, it seems that they are bragging about their D-line just a little bit, and that's kind of scary. So especially if they don't have Donald out there, Aaron Donald out there, that's kind of a big. That's not even kind of, that is a big deal, because you absolutely do not know what this defense is going to look like without that guy. And if they're bragging about how good this D-line is without him, that's a little concerning. That's something to look into then. But their offensive line also isn't doing too hot either, because they're dealing with injuries. So it kind of works for us too, because our D-line's pretty good outside of the run-stopping game. So no way they're as good. Yeah, no way they're as good. No way. They're definitely not going to be as good with Aaron Donald. So there's just not possible. Unless like every player on the D-line makes up for that effort and then some, But yeah, there's no way they're going to be as effective. But their D-line still, based on what they're bragging, seems pretty good. But now we can focus on the rest of the D-line since we don't have scheme around Donald. Yes, we don't have to constantly worry about that double team. Brock Purdy doesn't have to like shit his pants when he sees him across the field before he snaps the ball, So that's good. I'm sure Purdy feels a lot comfortable knowing that when he goes out there and Donald is not going to completely destroy Brentle and the rookie Puni, because for a fact he fucking would be like, I'm going after that kid. Shit. So, come on, Wolfie. Come on. Brock isn't Gino. True. I was just trying to give Donald some props for sure. But yes, Donald is not Gino. I'll never forget Gino. Fuck. That was so funny, dude. He was like, and he's like, oh. I'll never forget that. That was funny, Gino. That was funny, Gino. That was funny. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. It's a good highlight. I'm glad he's retired though. 10 years, whatever. Congratulations to that guy. I still think he's a dick. I don't really like Aaron Donald, to be honest, but I do respect his Hall of Fame status. Dude's a fucking stud. All right, so we're done talking about division rivals. We already talked about Brandon Aiyuk and his stupid ass IG little post thing that we saw. It's no different than anything else he did before, so it's not really an update. It's just an update on what's the drama he's pushing. That's about it. Last but not least, I kind of want to talk just a tiny bit about Puni. I don't know why I call him Puny, but Puni. Apparently, like a lot of people, not even just 49ers content creators, are saying that Puni, gotta say Puni, is like the best offensive lineman in this draft so far based on what he's showing in preseason, which is crazy considering that we were like, why didn't you draft an offensive lineman in the first round? And yeah, that is you still probably should have done that. But everything is always in retrospect, right? At the time, we all know that if Pearsall turned out to be a baller in training camp, we would also forget it. So everything how we reacted when it first happened, if it turns out that Puni is just like this ultimate guard guy, and anyone else that we wanted to get in the first round in the first place turns out to be trash, because I haven't heard anything good about Fatanu yet. One of Brad's from the 79ers favorite offensive linemen. Haven't heard anything good about him or anything like that. So, I mean, if we drafted him and he's not that good, that would have been bad. And then if we missed out on Puni, that could have been bad. So, yeah. So I'm pretty excited about that. If Puni can actually be on the starting, but then again, right tackle was our issue. I thought, in my opinion, right tackle was the biggest hole compared to guard because we had Feliciano at the time and we had Burford at the time. So I'm not saying they're the best, but Feliciano was actually a good starter at right guard. So, yeah. Apparently, he's both Steelers and Commander post. Now they can't fight over where he wants to go no more. He's injured. Fatano was injured. Okay. See, we could have been dealing with that. We could have been dealing with that shit. How serious is that injury? Injury. Positive injury news. Fatanu might not play at Pittsburgh Steelers final preseason against Detroit Lions, but he will be back week 1. Okay. So he'll be there for week 1. All right. Yep. He plays week 1. So and then the linemen that I've been hearing about that are pretty good that we were going to get, that the Cowboys ended up getting, was Tyler Guyton. The dude is shutting down Micah Parsons. I've been meaning to make a Cowboys hater video, like a little short on that, because he's getting completely owned by a rookie, and that dude wants how much money? And I understand that rookie might be a complete stud, and he was training with Trent Williams, so that makes sense. Trent Williams actually wanted him, if I remember correctly about this guy. I understand players can recommend people like, hey, I like this guy, I like this guy, I like this guy. It doesn't mean they're going to come out to be true. But if he's looking like a stud like he is right now, and he trade with Trent Williams, Jesus, that would kind of hurt a little bit. That would kind of hurt a little bit because I kind of wanted Tyler Guyton. I didn't think he was going to be as good as he's showing now. However, yeah, I still want him. He went to OU like Trent, yeah. So that would kind of bum me out a little bit, but not too much because not everyone was high on him. So, I mean, yeah, I'm not really too high on him. Sorry, I was high on him. And then the next guy, who was the third? There was another lineman that popped that's doing pretty well right now. Not the top one. There's who's the other lineman? Oh, I can't remember the lineman. It's Tyler Guyton. There's another lineman that's actually doing pretty. Oh yeah, The Chiefs left tackle, Kingsley Samatuya. I'm completely butchering the shit out of that. I don't know why I just did that. I will share your browser lost connection, screen share audio, screen. Oh, okay. There we go. Anyway, apparently he's doing really well with the Chiefs, and we traded with that team. So that could be a really bad look, especially since I feel like we need to tackle more. But then again, he's actually performing as a left tackle, and we don't need left tackle right now. He would have just been like a project. I'm sure we would have moved him over to right tackle, but we just know that he's performing as a left tackle. So if you want to like force yourself to have a little bit of doubt about his talent and how he would have performed on our team, that's what you could do. But looks like he's looking like a stud, and he will start at left tackle for the actually, let me double check that. Pretty sure someone, because I think they're left. Keys excellent. Keys. Starting. Let me double check, guys. Pretty sure he's starting. Was selected by Kansas City Chiefs. Cemetery started right tackle in 2022. Blah blah blah. Don't even know that. Can Swarmatara win the Chiefs starting like come off 2 years ago where he started right tackle 20 blah blah blah. He's getting starter treatment right now, which is a pretty big deal if he's trying to block for Patrick Mahomes. So he's looking like a stud over there. So as much as I hate the Cowboys, they do invest in the offensive line. They really, like, they honestly do, like, all the time. That's what Jerry Jones actually, like, cares about the most. It's clear as day that's what he cares about the most here. So his offensive line, God, dude constantly drafts it, which I don't blame him. I mean, you're trying to protect your quarterback, so why not? If you got a franchise quarterback, you try to protect him. I don't hate it. I really don't. But sometimes they draft offensive linemen when they don't need to. And that's kind of like the one thing that's the problem with Jerry Jones is that he just does it anyway. So, and I guess he's trying to protect his what would be $60 million investment. So anyway, that is the end of all that. I'm super happy that Puni, the 3rd round draft pick, is turning out to be an incredible steal, one of the best offensive linemen in the draft. And we got him in the 3rd round, 86th overall, while everyone else had to kind of reach up. Like the Chiefs had to trade up with the 49ers to get Kingsley. Guyton fell in the 1st round. So it's not like the end of the world. And to find out that we actually have a starting offensive lineman, we could definitely have a little bit more comfort going into the season, knowing that we picked a player who will start at right guard and looks like he will perform in as high ass IQ. That dude, I'm not getting to a depth, but apparently one time he stepped on McKivit's foot and then had to spin around because he knew in like a half a second to digest everything that it would stop McKivitz from having to adjust to stop the DN. And he turns around like a little fucking ballerina and blocks the dude. It was actually quite impressive. I'm super excited about that guy. I can't wait to see how he performs. So, and hopefully McKivitz got better, but that's a random thought. But anyway. All right, Strawberry Racks, thank you so much for coming in here, man. You're awesome, dude. OG. Papa J, I know you came in the beginning. Hope your drive was safe if you're still around here. To everyone else who came in here, please hit that like button if you like the video, or if you just want to support me, sub if you want to get more of my content. I do this every day. Going to get better at it. Going to take what I did wrong, get better at it. I want to be good at this. So peace out, Strawberry Racks. Everyone else, all love, and I will see you next video.